As of a couple months ago, I recently rediscovered a movie called Bridge to Terabithia. Now, this movie I absolutely love, I adore it. There is another version of the story that most people don't really know about, and that's the 1985 version that aired on ABC that's only like 55 minutes long. And this version is quite different from the 2007 version, and I want to talk about the major things, like the major characters, major thing that happens, because those are most things that are different from the story. And before I get into that, I do want to cover the actual basic plot of Bridge to Terabithia. So, Bridge to Terabithia follows a young boy named Jesse Aarons, or his nickname's Jess. He's your average kid that gets bullied and just has basically a crappy life. And one day, a new neighbor comes in, her name's Leslie, and she is quite different. And the two of them soon become friends, and they go into the forest, and they make their own land called Terabithia, where all their problems go away, and they can just have fun and hang out and become closer friends. So a breakdown of this video, I'm going to be covering 5 major things that both these stories have. So the first thing we're talking about is the presentation itself, the adaptation, the quality of each movie. How does it hold up? The next step, we're going to go into the characters. So we're going to be talking about Jess, as he is the main character of the story. Then Leslie, who is the co-lead of the story. The next step is their friendship, because that is the heart of the story. And finally, and this is a spoiler, but not really, as it's pretty synonymous with the movie, and that's Leslie's death, because both versions have Leslie dying in it, and both stories portray it differently, and along with everything else, like, it's just very interesting, and that's what I want to cover.
You gotta come back to your regular seat, Leslie. The 7th graders are gonna get you for sitting back here.
In terms of the adaptation itself, the 2007 version is well-paced. It's very, very paced. It's really, really well executed as well. The characters are well likable. Jess and Leslie are really good. Josh Hutcherson and Anthony Robb really portray his characters so well, along with everyone else in the cast. Everyone is perfectly cast in this movie. Now, the 85 version is quite different. It doesn't have the rope, which is a very big deal because the rope is pretty iconic in the story. And it's weird because the 85 version basically is just this giant checklist of the major things that happen. Like, it has to have the race, it has to have them being friends, and they have to go create Terabithia, and it's like basically a checklist of things that the movie is doing. But the problem is that none of it flows together. So the 85 version really tied to the book, and it really is trying to recreate the story. But because it only has 55 minutes, it kind of just feels very flat. Like, this movie doesn't really have the same emotion that the 07 version has, which kind of sucks. Also, a giant elephant in the room with the 85 version is that the child acting is terrible. That's not entirely true. I mean, I'm someone that's seen a lot of the terrible things in my day, mostly relating to Star Wars, and the 85 version of Bridge to Terabithia isn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but when it comes to the child acting, yeah, some of it's a bit rough. For most of the child actors, they're not great. The adult actors are fine, and whenever Jess is talking to one of the adult actors, it's not that bad.
Okay, that's enough.
So Jess in the 2007 version is someone who is very shy, he's an introvert, he's very selfish, but it's understandable why he's selfish, because he's someone who is basically living this really crappy life. He has basically no one to talk to. He has like 3 different bullies at school. He's basically living this really miserable life. And so you understand why he is selfish, because whatever friendships he can get, he just takes. No one else can join his friendships. But he's someone who's also very street smart, because he's fully aware of his parents' situation, being like very, very poor. He's fully aware he's not getting into any conflicts at school. He doesn't speak up to anyone at school. He just keeps to himself, stays quiet, and it's very relatable to any introverts because they don't want to get into any trouble. I know, because I am an introvert. The stuff Jess does in the movie, I used to do at school. Compared to the 85 version, it's quite different. The 85 version of Jess is very brash, is how I can describe it. He's also very arrogant, and he's unhinged. The 85 version loves to portray Jess as someone who is very, just likes to speak out on stuff. It's kind of something that Leslie in the 2007 version is, to an extent, which is interesting. The 85 version of Jess likes to talk back to people, is the word to say. When it comes to, their bully, Janice Avery, I believe her name is, on the bus in the 85 version, he literally calls her like a cow or something like that, like not too far away from her in that version, which Jess in the 2007 version will never ever say, like unless they're in like Terabithia or whatever. He is still very likable and a good protagonist, and the actor who plays him does a good job at portraying him and isn't terrible at acting all the time. Like I said, when he's talking to the adult actors, he's quite good in the role, but when he's talking to like Leslie and other kid actors, he's not that good, and he does have really bad line deliveries. But yeah, now that that's out of the way, what about Leslie?
You'll just have to sit at my desk this morning until we figure out where to squeeze you in.
I relate to the 2007 version of Leslie more. Now, that could be due to the part of Anastasia Robb just absolutely embodying this character, because she plays a character who is both book smart and also socially inept. And basically in their friend group, she is the brains and the comic relief character put together, and she pulls it off very well. Leslie is the best part of the 07 version. She is just so lovely, she's very friendly, she's nice, and she's just this very lovely person to be around. Now, the 85 version of Leslie is quite different. She is a tomboy, and that's not a problem with me. I don't mind. I can't really say much about Leslie, because as a character, she doesn't do a whole much. She is just a friend of Jess, which is weird. In terms of Leslie, her character herself, she doesn't really much to say. Like, she is sort of a weird opposite, because she is shy and isn't really that abrasive and isn't really an extrovert like the 07 version is. The only thing that's different is in terms of her weirdness, because she calls her parents by her real name. Like, she calls her parents by their real name, which is actually really weird, and most kids don't do that. That's like the only notable thing that I can say about this version of Leslie, which is disappointing. I wanted to go more in depth with it, but just isn't much to say. She just sort of just exists as just this friend of Jess, and so it's just disappointing.
Took a giant pee all over my sweatshirt.
Wow, Jess. Thank you.
Jess and Leslie's friendship in the 07 version is one of the most sweetest, nicest, charming friendships I've ever seen in a movie. Their relationship is so strong and impactful that you do feel that they're actually real people. And that's the main heart of the 07 version. Their friendship is the reason why the movie is so damn good. Both Josh Hutcherson and Anastasia Robb they have such great chemistry between the two of them. Not romantic chemistry, but just friendship. You feel they're actually friends, and as the movie goes on, you feel like they've been friends for their entire lives. You know, it's just been like a month in universe. The 85 version, on the other hand, does the opposite. The friendship that Jess and Leslie have in the 85 version is very flat, and their friendship is very generic. It doesn't help that the first half of the movie, they feel like acquaintances. Like, they feel like neighbor friends rather than actual, like, best friends. The only reason why they're even talking to each other is because they're neighbors, until the second half, where I guess they try to strengthen the relationship, but it doesn't really work. Like, they try at least, but it just doesn't work. Their friendship is very generic. You know, the movie doesn't give you a reason why that they should be friends, which is such a contrast to the 07 version, where they really focus on that, and in the 85 version, you don't get that. They just feel like regular friendship that you've seen a million times. There's something special about it.
Your friend Leslie's dead. She drowned in a creek this morning.
Now, the big thing, Leslie's death. How does each version portray Leslie's death? Well, in the 07 version, very famously, the phrase, "your friend Leslie's dead," is said by Jess's father. And the whole thing is very, very emotional, because when you really watch it, especially as an adult, it really hits hard. Because especially if you lost someone in real life, what you see in the last 20 or so minutes of the movie is very hard and it's scarily realistic, where you see Jess go through his own 5 stages of grief, and if you lost someone in real life, as an adult, you understand what he's going through, and some of the things that Jess does, you may have experienced as well. In the 85 version, surprisingly enough, it doesn't butcher it. The death of Leslie does, it's not that impactful, because when Jess comes through the door, his family just says, oh, Leslie's dead. But the difference with the 85 version is that it does it more condensely rather than the 07 version, which gives it time to breathe and you get to feel the effect of Leslie's death. In the 85 version, you don't really get that because, like I said, there's a time restraint. I understand that. Probably the best part of the 85 version is the reaction of Leslie's death, because all the actors do a good job in the 85 version, so it's not completely like unwatchable, like I said. It's just, it doesn't have the same impact, but it's not terrible. Well, I hope I covered everything that I wanted to talk about because, yeah, this is a big video to talk about. My throat hurts, but yeah, those are the two versions of Bridge to Terabithia. Obviously, I like the 2007 version a lot more because that's actually a movie. If you guys enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe. I'm gonna go now, so goodbye, everyone.